Welcome once again to Discover Marshalltown. We are on location once again, out and about, and we are with Major Ben Stillwell of the Salvation Army today. Welcome, Major.
Thank you for having me.
And where are we? Where are we in the Salvation Army?
We're by the largest Christmas tree in the building. We're in the chapel,
Okay.
and we're by our largest Christmas tree because of the Christmas season.
It is bell ringing season. You can't go anywhere without hearing the ringing of the bells and noticing the red kettles. This is a major campaign for you, fundraising campaign, the biggest one.
Yes.
Of the year for the Salvation Army. And where are we at right now? Can you give me a rough number?
Our goal is $145,600, and we're at 24% of our goal. And that number is, I just happen to have
Drum
it right
roll.
here, $35,120.03, give or take a cent or three.
Okay. We're going to find out a little bit about the Major and your wife coming from Indiana, right?
Well, I'm from Indiana.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Frankfort, Indiana. She's an Illinois girl. She's from Kankakee, Illinois.
Kankakee. That's in the song "The City of New Orleans"? Remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great song.
You know, he did a Cubs song too, by the way.
He did. Well, we're going to get
and
to
the World Series this year was won by the Chicago
I know.
Cubs.
We're going to talk about the Chicago Cubs and your love of the Cubs, because it's fanatic. That's you. If you
fan is short for fanatic.
It is. If you could come in all Cub regalia, I'm sure you would.
It'd be perfect.
It would.
If you ever have me on again, I can promise you, if you want me to.
He's come to the radio.
Although if it's official for the Army, I can't.
Okay.
You know, I have to be in
I know you do.
uniform.
He's come and been on the radio with me a couple times wearing lots and lots of Cub stuff.
Yes.
But let's talk about back home in Indiana. Let's talk about your upbringing.
Sure. I was born in Frankfort, Indiana. My mother was a Marine. My father was in the Navy. They were Korean War veterans. We lived in Frankfort. He was a railroader after the war, and he was on the road, so we would live in Frankfort or Bloomington, Illinois at times, because that's where my mother's family had moved to, her father. I went to Southside High School, Southside Grade School, Riley Grade School, Kiger Grade School, graduated from Riley Grade School, home of the poets. I thought you'd like that. Went to
That
Frankfort.
was your mascot?
Yeah, Riley Poets. James Whitcomb Riley, the poet laureate of Indiana.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
You know there is, but I'll go on with this. Went to Frankfort Junior High School. Frankfort's somewhat famous in Indiana high school basketball history. Everett Case, who went to Tobacco Road and in the Carolinas, and especially the idea of cutting down the nets, he started it in the sectionals in Frankfort, Indiana, in Indiana high school basketball. He won 3 state championships there. My mother died of cancer. I was in the 6th grade, and my father died in a car wreck in the 7th grade, so I ended up moving out to a farm with an aunt and uncle and lived there, and went to Clinton Prairie High School, home of the Gophers. Cheer, cheer for old Notre Dame. Just joking with you there. No, theirs was more of a terrible song for people in Iowa. It was the Minnesota Golden Gophers fight song.
It was?
Except it was changed, a little bit. So I don't want to go there because I can get in big trouble in Iowa.
Oh, it's all right.
Wrestled there,
Right.
and cannot believe that I would be talked into losing weight in high school. It was a different age. They didn't weigh you in the swimming pool. They didn't do the percentage of body fat.
Right.
The coaches just said, and this is the 60s, mid-60s, late 60s, early 70s, hey, I think you can lose weight. And, well, they're the coach. They know what they're doing.
Right.
Oh, not But you and I can relate to that a little bit.
We can. I was a high school wrestler as well. So you and I laugh a lot about our losing weight, gaining weight, running around in gymnasiums and skipping rope and all the crazy things that wrestlers do. I look back on that time. It looks like a whole completely different person when I look at videos and photographs of me back in high school. But okay, you graduated from high school, what, what'd you say, 70?
71.
71. Okay, you graduated in 71. What happened there? I mean, what led you to the ministry?
Much later in life.
Much later, okay.
Much later in life, 70, got to get this right, 78, 79, met my wife, had met Christ as my Savior. In 78, I don't talk about from 71 to 78 much, because I've heard people give a testimony where they really carry on about how bad they were, and it becomes more about the bad than the good things, and I'm not claiming to be good, but met Christ as my Savior, met my wife, we were married, went to the College for Officers training in Chicago, right on Addison, right by the lakefront, and Addison and Clark.
Wrigley Field.
Wrigley Field, the friendly confines.
How did
I went to a ball game in August of 1982. They said there were 8,000 people there on the radio. We were the only people, 3 of us, in the center field bleacher. And if there were 800 people there, I'm telling the truth. But they may have sold 8,000 tickets because they were really bad in 82.
They were bad.
But the College for Officers Training is there, and that's where we went for training, came out of training and had the opportunity to go to, and I have to do this in order or I'll mess up, Jackson, Michigan, then to East Chicago, Indiana, Chicago, Andersonville, to Olathe, Kansas, to Topeka, Kansas, back to Chicago, then to Fort Wayne, Indiana, brief overseas mission in, now I got to do this in order, Georgetown, Guyana, on the continent, then to Georgetown, Trinidad and Tobago, then to Grenada, the island, and then to Barbados. And Barbados was like the States. And all the others, you were stepping back farther and farther in time and that kind of thing.
Right.
From Fort Wayne, we went to St. Louis area, also to the Granite City area, Jefferson City, Missouri, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and Marshalltown now for almost 4 years.
My goodness, you've traveled around a lot.
The average stay is 3 years and 10 months.
So you're about due.
Oh, I hope not. I'm nearing retirement. I'm an old guy.
Well,
so
let's talk about your family.
Sure.
Major Beth and your kids, and you've got grandchildren.
Yes, we do.
Let's run through the family tree a little bit.
Joshua David is our oldest. That's our son. He's married to the lovely Michelle Lundequam Stillwell, and that is Swedish. And I should mention that because it's kind of a big deal, if you know what I mean. Because they're up north, don't you know?
I do know that.
Okie dokie. And they have one child named Benjamin David after me, which is a real honor, and Dad, Joshua David. And then our middle daughter, Sarah Beth, is in the St. Louis area. Her and her husband had spent years down in Valdosta, Georgia. He was in the Air Force. He is a Purdue guy. Yahoo! You know, I'm sorry, I just have to throw those things in when I get the chance. They have a lovely, and his last name, their last name, is Murphy. Murphy, bit of the Irish there, don't you know?
Yeah.
So is the babies, my mama's name. So we got that Irish connection, and her name is Avery Quinn Murphy for sure. So there's that there. Then my youngest daughter, Leah, lives up between Green Mountain and Garwin, if I'm not mistaken. She has Emma, our 11-year-old granddaughter, and Jack Michael. Michael's my middle name, very honored by that. And then the newest one, Cora, who's Beth's dad's mother, great-grandma, name, and Esma, named after the other side, Mr. Joshua Stoddard, his grandma's.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And you're caught up as far as I know.
think I'm caught up. I
If
don't know.
anybody's having a baby, I don't know about it.
If you were keeping score at home, I lost count of grandchildren.
3 children, 5.
Okay.
3 and 5.
3 and 5. Gotcha. Okay. So the Salvation Army was not your first vocation, but you've been doing it since '78.
Yeah, I think that I've either worked for the Army, gone to the College for Officers Training, and or been a minister, was ordained June 10th of '84.
Okay.
And very fortunate, feel like, for a farm kid from Indiana, because Frankfort was really a farming community. It used to be a big railroad town. It was a north-south connection for Monon and had passengers. Then east-west with nickel plate way back when from Lackawanna to St. Louis and had passengers. So it was a railroad city with small businesses, small factories. And it's just, in high school, I think when I was there's 38,000 at the most, and now if there's 27,000, and it's not really the Rust Belt, but it was, because every steam engine that Nickel Plate ever had went through Frankfort, even when they sold them for scrap. And they went north to the mills to be cut and reused, or if they sold a lot of them to South America. My dad actually got to bring the steam engine from Frankfort to Bloomington, Illinois, to Miller Park. There's a great big steam engine that he actually got to bring over, and us kids and grandkids and everybody were able to follow it from the yards downtown Bloomington, Illinois, to Miller Park, to its final place. And what they did is they had it on the old trolley train system. And you talk about kids and grandkids and everybody in the family and neighborhood, all the railroad kids were just enamored by it. It was really exciting for me.
We're visiting with Major Ben Stillwell from the Salvation Army. Let's talk a little bit about the Toys for Tots campaign, which for years was headed by a guy who I actually just really grew to care a great deal about, Bob Shively.
Yes.
And Bob has recently passed away. He helped spearhead it here locally for many, many years, and that is going on right now. There is I would say, a pretty large need for toys for the youngsters in this community.
Bob not only was a Salvation Army board member, Bob was also a Navy man. He was very involved with the Marine Corps Toys for Tots. We have 18 to 20 locations right now.
Right.
And he, at his Salvation Army term, promotion to glory service, at his memorial, at his funeral, his pastor spoke eloquently about the reason why he did this. He was an orphan early in life, not for a long period of time, but at the orphanage, and he came back from the Korean War determined to serve, and he wanted to make sure that no child ever had to face Christmas without a toy. And
Right.
he made that his personal mission, and just phenomenal. We're having a traveling trophy, Bob Shively Christmas Volunteer of the Year Award. Traveling trophy. Yearly you get to keep it, and a certificate, because we really think he deserved his life of sanctified service.
Right.
Just speaks volumes of what we all should be doing.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about Toys for Tots, but we need to take a commercial break. We're with Major Ben Stillwell of the Salvation Army, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Hello, I'm Social Security Commissioner Michael Astro.
And I'm Scott Gould, Deputy Secretary for Veterans Affairs.
Every 2 minutes, the U.S. government receives an identity theft complaint.
Recently, we've learned that more and more people are getting scammed out of their money when they give their personal information to criminals who contact them by phone, email, or text.
These criminals often say you've won the lottery, or they claim to be from a government agency needing certain information, like a Social Security number.
Treasury, Social Security, Veterans Affairs, and other government agencies will never contact you by phone, text, or email and ask you for this information. If you get contacted like this, it's a scam. Hang up, delete the email, call the authorities.
Don't let criminals take your money. Protect yourself. Never give your Social Security number or bank account information to anyone unless you initiated contact.
And watch your accounts to make sure that all the activity is yours.
Don't be a victim. Visit stopfraud.gov or call 877-ID-THEFT to learn more.
Welcome back to Discover Marshalltown, and we are at the Salvation Army today, visiting with Major Ben Stillwell from the Salvation Army. And we were talking about Toys for Tots right before we went to commercial break. And you guys do a wonderful thing. You get the toys and you distribute them locally. I know that was something that Bob really, really wanted, were that the toys would stay local.
Mm-hmm. I think that the marvelous thing is it wasn't just the Marine Corps. It was Bob personally, it was the Marine Corps, and it was the way Marshalltown wants things done. That the toys that come in here stay here. Right. And that's one thing that we can certainly vouch for. We know that they have. We know that if we suddenly have an overabundance, we certainly use them throughout the year. We give them out at Christmas mainly. In the 4 Christmas seasons we've had here, I think once or twice we've had a little bit more, and we give them out specifically for fire and police referrals or other agency referrals when there are folks that come to town and need stuff.
Let's talk about the needs of the community, Major. The Salvation Army serves so many purposes. Thanksgiving is huge.
Oh, 804 meals. And I would have never believed when we came here, and I think the first year it was 427. Kyle, I would have never believed that we would see such an increase.
Right.
But the nice thing is the socialization and Smokin' G's doing the turkeys, smoking them for us.
Right.
People just love not only the flavor, but all the stuff, the high school, the homemade stuffing, our almost world famous cook, Bill Crane, I'm just joking, in a wonderful way. It's like the perfect storm in a good way, and it's grown in leaps and bounds. 214 delivered this year. We had takeouts, and my goodness gracious, I would have never believed we'd see 804 meals.
Well, not only at Thanksgiving, but there is a need at Christmas time, and
yes.
you have a food pantry here at the Salvation Army, and as I was coming in, I noticed some people taking some boxes
yes.
Out here on the east side. Let's talk a little bit about the food pantry before we talk about Christmas.
Sure.
You have a very large cooler that is fairly new, because I remember that being installed probably right as I was coming to the radio station, coming to Marshalltown, or maybe a little bit before that.
Sure.
So that's 13 years, roughly.
Okay.
It's big, so
yes,
it can accommodate a lot of turkeys, a lot
yes.
of hams, a lot of frozen goods. So you are able to distribute those to the needy.
Mm-hmm. And the nice thing is that although you say it's not just Christmas, we really, if we ever have any meat left over, we give it out throughout the year. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, food for feeding. I'm going to mess this up. Feeding America.
Okay.
Marshalltown Hy-Vee and Marshalltown Walmart are the primary givers for us locally, and we're able to give those out. We do it by alphabet, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, once a week, depending on your last name. And don't ask me to break down the alphabet, because I never can.
Okay.
But Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So you will see people. It starts at 1 o'clock. We never know how much we're going to have. It's usually high 20s, low 40s at the very minimum. And on a couple of occasions, we've had more than that. But you don't know what you're going to get. But it's almost always sweet bread items and whatever.
Sure.
Vegetables, fruit, and the wonderful thing is with Walmart, meat. So it's well worth the opportunity. The food pantry is, this is important to say, over $650,000 worth of gifts in kind last year. Just had our internal audit done. I don't know these numbers and can't remember them, but just had it done. And I know today is the 2nd of December.
Right.
But oh my goodness, that speaks volumes of toys for tots. The 47 turkeys that we needed, and then a couple that came in, and we sure used them this year in a wonderful way. But now we're looking at, realistically, meat given to us from Burke's, meat given to us from JBS, plus we're looking for the turkeys and the hams for this holiday season. Now being Christmas, we expect at least 375 and maybe 400 families. And a family can be one person or it can be very large. So we're right in that time frame. The distribution is on the 20th. We will be setting up in the building. The toys are the Saturday the 17th, and we'll set up and try to have the boxes made up except for meat, milk, butter, that kind of stuff. That'll be done the last minute because of how cold it is, and that they have to be cold, kept refrigerated. That's the word I'm searching for. That'll be on the 20th, and then if there's really bad weather the 20th, we can do it the 21st. That's why we try to do it early, but the setup the 19th and the setup the 17th. And we could certainly use the volunteer help both of those days. The 17th, that Saturday, is in the morning only. We usually can do that pretty quickly, but the boxes and the Christmas box distribution on the 20th, we certainly can use chaperones to help take people through, as well as on the 19th helping us. We go to Burke's and to JBS on the 19th and get that, bring it here, and start giving it out.
Wow. So much need here in our community. And
It's surprising.
Yeah, you don't necessarily think about the needs of the homeless or almost homeless, or the couch surfers. That's, they sleep at a friend's house on a couch. You don't always think about those people, and there's a huge need for food and toys at Christmas time. There's no doubt about that. And obviously, if you are walking by a red kettle and you hear the jingle of the bell, be sure to drop off your change, your spare change.
And I just happen to have with me a list
Another
of
drum
where those are.
All right, tell us.
Tyson's, Walmart South, and Walmart North. Kmart, Hy-Vee Drug, who's a sponsor of the Football Friday at a radio station that KFJB, Fairway, Walgreens, Hy-Vee Grocery Store, JCPenney, and Hobby Lobby. Those are our locations, and we would encourage folks to consider donating.
Major Ben missed his calling. I think he should have been in radio.
I had a cousin. You know this. I had a cousin who was.
I know all about your...
And he told me never say, and I do it all the time anyhow.
That's okay. It's all right. Let's talk a little bit about, if we've got a minute or two left here, let's go ahead and talk about those cubbies. What?
Okay.
What about
my grandfather grew up not so much a Cub fan, but he had a small business on Clark Street, trucking business, right by Wrigley Field, right down the road, right down the street. And he went to, him and his sister, Aunt Maud, would go to the bleachers. Well, Aunt Maud ends up in Indiana and in Frankfurt, and would take the Monon north and go on Ladies' Day for years. Grandpa ended up, he wanted to enlist in World War II, and they wouldn't let him because he had this small trucking company, and they said, we're going to need you doing stuff. So he brainwashed me. But he actually got to go to a 1945 World Series game.
Sure.
And was a Cub fan from then on. But in the summers of 67, 68, 69, we would spend about a week, 2 weeks at the most with him. And they weren't on TV back then.
Right.
They were on the radio. And I can remember him picking up the radio in '69. I love you. I hate you. I love you. I hate you. And I thought he was going to throw the radio. And he never did. But it has been painful. I look at 84 and 89 fondly. I don't talk about the other thing, and it's not Bartman's fault.
No, right.
I would blame the manager, calm everybody down, but it didn't happen. And now, at the beginning of this year, I saw a T-shirt that said, "Please God, just once in my lifetime, let the Cubs win." Now I've got Cubs cups, I've got Cubs pajamas, I've got not a real Cubs jersey, of course, can't afford it, some Cubs hats, and I've got one Cubs T-shirt that is the Cubs shows the ring. And I just don't want to be like Cardinal fans who are kind but a little tough on Cub fans. I want to be the kindest I can be, because this may be it for me.
This could be it.
This could be it.
Who knows?
You don't know about injuries.
What a magical year, and I'm glad that you finally got to see it in your lifetime.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
In the chapel. Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
We are with Major Ben Stillwell. I think we're about out of time for our Discover Marshalltown program. We have been visiting with Major Ben Stillwell of the Salvation Army for the last half hour, and we want to thank you. And
Kyle,
all
thank you.
All that you do in
At MCTV.
and MCTV and this wonderful program. It's so fun to get out and about and interview people like you, and you're so alive, and you're wonderful for the community, and we greatly appreciate all you do.
And I'll pay you my quarter later after all these kind things you've said.
You don't need to pay me. It's all true. That's going to wrap it up. This has been another edition of Discover Marshalltown. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.
Marshalltown, #1.